Sorry, we're a little late. Can we raise this? Can we raise this?
If you can.
Guess not, huh?
Nope.
Yeah, it can be raised.
I don't think this one goes
Okay,
up.
how are you?
At the bottom.
At the bottom.
Yeah, this is the.
Okay.
Pull this
All
back.
right.
I don't think this one.
Screw.
Ah,
Don't shove her down. Here, let's get it over to you guys.
thank you.
All right, it's still morning? It's still morning. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here this morning. The first thing that I want to do, though, is to recognize that there was a deputy U.S. Marshal who was shot this morning in Cleveland, Ohio. The prognosis is good. Fortunately, it looks like he will survive. But I think that the shooting this morning of this deputy marshal is indicative of the danger that our brothers and sisters in law enforcement face every day. In particular, in this case, there was an arrest warrant that the marshal was serving on an individual who was convicted of 7 counts of assault after 7 separate assault convictions, 1 robbery conviction, 3 narcotics convictions, 2 firearms convictions, an individual that shouldn't have been out in the first place, and it is an indication, unfortunately, of what is going on in this country with courts refusing to incarcerate these individuals for the time that they need to be incarcerated. In any event, I want to thank you for being here today, and I'm here to address what I think is a very important public safety issue. The failure of sex offenders to comply with registration mandates under the law. Now, the United States Supreme Court has made it clear, and decades ago held that the risk of recidivism posed by a sex offender is frighteningly high. And one of President Trump's highest priorities for the citizens of this district is to make it safe for everyone. And so, in that regard, I want to thank you for being here today. It is the sex offender registry that we talk about as a vital tool that protects communities, it ensures accountability, and it prevents further victimization. Once convicted, a sex offender is mandated by law to register and to update their information pursuant to the class of offender they are categorized as. Today, we announced the results of a surge operation that was conducted on and focused on this issue. For 7 weeks, the United States Marshal Service and CSOSA, which is the Court Offender Supervision Program, they conducted compliance checks on 883 sex offenders in the District of Columbia. They reviewed those sex offenders and they reviewed those who were required to register. Right now, the count is 25 individuals who have been found to be in violation of their sex offender notification requirements. They are being charged in both Superior and federal court. And 9 of the 25 sex offenders who failed to register pursuant to the law are Class A sex offenders. And what that means is they have been convicted of the highest level of sex crime. That means sexual assault in the 1st or 2nd degree, known as rape, or cases that involve multiple victims. And at least 8 of those are pedophiles, sex offenders who have preyed upon the innocence of children, sexually abused them, and have been convicted and forced to register regarding their location. These cases are handled by the sex offense domestic violence section of my office and child exploitation and human trafficking. Now, even more important is the fact that registration alone, although it is a crime to fail to register, registration alone does not protect victims. At least 2 of these offenders, or maybe even 3, reoffended during the period of their mandated registration. Again, registration alone does not protect the victims. Of utmost concern to me is the fact that Washington, D.C. has not required that these predators, whether they be pedophiles or sex offenders in general, are not mandated by any law to live away from a school, a playground, a rec center, a children's hospital. 30 states in the United States and many municipalities and jurisdictions mandate that these sex offenders not be in the vicinity of these locations where children are located. When children are known to frequent an area, we know that pedophiles make it their business to be in the same area. And it is shocking to me that in the District of Columbia, there is no requirement that these individuals not be in a vicinity, whether it's 500 or 1,000 feet of where these children are known to frequent. So there is no residency ban, and it's got to happen in DC. So what you see here right now is a poster that shows how so many of these predators are living within 1,000 feet of child-friendly locations. We also have something that we passed around. Do we have them, Tim?
Yep.
We pass around that show you on a map, and it's not as perfect as I'd like it to be, of where the offenders are located next to these child-friendly locations. There are, however, many more child offenders living near these schools and playgrounds than are even indicated on that map. That map just tells you those who don't register and are mandated to register. So I want to say that my office, along with the United States Marshal Service, will continue to root out, to arrest, and to prosecute all sex offenders who minimally fail to register and fail to be in compliance with court-ordered registration requirements. And finally, it is time for the DC Council to step up and pass a law that requires that these predators stay away from the most vulnerable in our society. Now, I'd like to call upon a United States Marshal Stephanie Creasy, who is here today.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Bureau. Hello, I'm Stephanie Creasy. I'm the Acting Deputy Director for the United States Marshal Service. I'm very proud of our Deputy United States Marshals, and I'm here with some of the Deputy United States Marshals that worked on these cases that we were talking about, these sex offender cases. We are the best at finding people who don't want to be found. It takes just one lax catch and release law and no consequences for action law to allow sex offenders and other criminals to endanger our communities. Convicted sex offenders have already been afforded second chances and oftentimes many chances to be free in our communities. They know the requirements, they should adhere to those requirements, and there must be severe penalties when they do not follow these rules and requirements. Our deputies and our law enforcement partners should not have to risk their lives to find the same criminals over and over again. And our communities should not be victimized by the continuous crimes. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Go
U.S.
ahead.
Attorney
All right, and Denise Simmons, who is with CSOSA.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Denise Simmons, the Deputy Director of the Court Services and Offender Supervision Agency, and with me is Associate Director Marcus Hodges, who is the head of our Supervision Division. CSOSA has a very long-standing and important relationship with the United States Marshal Service. We have partnered throughout our existence with them on a number of crime initiatives related to criminal offenders who are residing in the community on probation, parole, and supervised release. We are particularly proud of our recent efforts with the United States Marshal Service as part of our response to President Trump's executive order on keeping DC safe and beautiful. We have increased our engagement in the community. The Marshal Service provides necessary armed presence for our CSOs who are not armed. When we go out in the community, we have conducted over 880 accountability checks on sex offenders. As U.S. Attorney Pirro stated, that has resulted in about 25 arrests. We will continue to perform those accountability tours along with the Marshal Service because it is an important law enforcement tool in order to keep the folks who visit, work, and live in D.C. safe from sex offenders. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I also want to recognize U.S. Marshal Bill Stroud, who works the cases. There's Bill over there. Mike Harba, Chief Sex Offense Branch. Where's Mike?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mark Hados, Assistant Director of Investigations.
Yes, ma'am.
And also the marshals, Carter and Dixon. There's Ron Carter and there's Dixon. Do you want to say anything?
No, I'm fine, thank
Would you like to say anything? All right, and Peter McAdams, who is the Assistant Director of Investigation. You want to say anything, Peter?
Sounds good.
There he goes, there's always one.
Well, I just want to take this moment to say how appreciative we are on this zero tolerance approach that we're doing here in DC. It's making a difference. Why do we do what we do? It's because the Marshal Service was entrusted with the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act, enforcing that law to ensure that non-compliant sex offenders are held accountable. Why? Because Adam Walsh was murdered by a sex offender and he was kidnapped. So working closely with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, we are making a difference. And it's that difference that is exemplified here in what we're doing to make DC safe and beautiful.
That's
so thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning Adam Walsh. That's where it all started. All right, any questions?
Ms. Pirro, can you clarify, the 25 sex offenders that you have here, were they all arrested near playground, school, rec center,
No,
children's
no.
hospitals,
Okay.
and had not registered?
Okay. Let me start by saying that the focus was on registration. All 25 did not register. Now, if you're a level A sex offender, you have to register for life, and you have to register 4 times a year. Okay, if you're level B, you have to register for 10 years, and every year you register. And C, also 10 years, once a year you register. But when we identified those and where they were supposed to be living, we found out that they are living near schools. Now, that is not an issue that is being investigated in the district. You know why? Because unlike 30 states and the rest of America, we don't let them do that. But in DC, unfortunately, there is no prohibition to sex offenders living within 500 feet or 1,000 feet of a child-friendly location. That is just an add-on that I put in there to show that this is a vulnerability that's allowed in the district that in most states is not allowed.
Your AUSAs, though, at sentencing, could ask a judge to tell them to stay away from certain areas.
Oh, sure, we ask them for all kinds of prohibitions. We need a law. We need a law, just like we need a law to make sure that they register. The law is there, but then we have to act on the law. I mean, you can't just hope that every defendant is going to listen to what the requirements of a judge are. What you've got to have is a law that mandates that there is a conviction based upon the facts that have been prohibited. And you don't have that here.
And then if you have charged these 25 in Superior Court, which I think you say you did, right?
Well, I said Superior and District.
Okay. Can we get a list of those 25?
Sure, we'll let you know what they are. But they are all, this is all public facing. All these individuals are known to the public. There's nothing new. Who are you with, by the way?
I'm with NBC4. Paul
Yeah,
White.
yeah, all right. You can put them all up. You can put all 883 of them up for all I care, because they are supposed to be identified, A and B. And C, if you're a C-level offender, then they have to go to the police department. But yeah, at some point, I have no problem giving you photos of these individuals who have failed to comply.
Ms. Pirro, I'm Brady
Yeah.
Bass with DC News Now. Why do you think this law hasn't been on the books up until this point? Is this an oversight? What do you think is driving it?
I can't get into the minds of people in the district, but what I can tell you is it's time for them to focus on this. This is shocking. Whatever their reason is, the most important function of government is the protection of its citizens. And when the United States Supreme Court has said that sex offenders are known historically to reoffend and recidivism is frighteningly high, then it's time for DC to take a note from that and make sure that these individuals are not within easy proximity. This is something that I've done for most of my career. I understand pedophiles. I know predators. I know what they do. I know where they frequent. I know how they insinuate themselves into these situations. And it's time for DC to do something about this to protect victims, not just the children, but all victims.
Speaking of the law and sentencing, yesterday the two teens who were accused of assaulting the Doge staffer were sentenced to probation only. Were you aware of that, first of all, and second of all, do you have any comment on that?
I was aware when they were released, which was shocking to me, and it feeds right into my concern when I first came into the district, which is that we have to lower the age of responsibility. You had a case where a throng of young punks assault a guy. The girl is in the car, and she's got the car door locked, and they're banging on the window and trying to open the door open. And she's saying that these kids, I spoke to her the next morning, are 12 and 13. But in the meantime, the guy who walks her to the car is being pummeled. I think he has a severe fracture and a fractured nose, I'm not sure. No shock. No shock there. Two 15-year-olds are out within a few weeks. That's the end of it. And that's why we have to lower the age of responsibility and accountability. We can have a record a mile long while we try to protect these young people under the guise that their prefrontal lobe is not developed. Enough of that. The person who is beat to a pulp doesn't care about the level of their prefrontal lobe, especially if they're 15 years old.
Ms. Pirro, can I ask you about this case of Cavante Stewart? This case where you're able...
I don't know that case.
The case
I'd
that
have to brief up on it. I don't want to waste their time because right from the get-go, I don't know the case. So if you want to contact Tim, I'm happy to talk to you. I want to talk about predators. I want to talk about pedophiles. I want to talk about the vulnerable today. That's my only message.
Can I ask you
No.
about... Can I ask you about something, Pam Bondi?
Talk to Pam Bondi about Pam Bondi.
She talks about the number of arrests since the surge.
Yeah.
Okay, and she said 361 illegal guns have been taken off the street. My question is, I recently saw a document filed in court in which your office is now using 3 different labs to get DNA off of guns. 3 different labs. How successful are you in getting these DNA connections to these suspects? And do you know how many cases since the surge where you've been able to make a connection? And why are you using 3 different labs?
Okay, but that I had a computer in my head to answer your original question. And the truth is, we are using as many labs that are certifiable that we can to move these cases along. We want to make sure that justice is swift and it is certain. And I will use whatever resources are out there to get the DNA to connect the individual to a gun. Because it's not just swift and certain justice. There is an individual who's been charged with a crime. I want to make sure I have all the evidence I can get, but I also want to make sure that if there is exculpatory evidence, that I have that as quickly as possible for the accused.
And then of these 300...
You have a lot to talk about today.
We never get to talk to you, so
Oh,
I've got
I'm always
questions.
available. Call Tim.
No, I've asked him 15 times for an interview, and he won't
Okay.
give it to me.
All right, well,
It's more
Tim
than
gets
400
3
guns
lashes
now.
today.
So I
What
got
else?
a million questions for you.
Yeah, here we
It's
go.
more than 400 guns now.
3,000...
Yeah, and you know what? It's more than 400 guns. Stephanie Creasy with the Marshals. There's no question. The guns are really up a lot higher than 300 something. You agree?
Yes, ma'am, more than 400.
417 is what I believe the last number was.
Yeah. We're grabbing them like crazy.
Making DC safe.
And of the 3,800 and something arrests since the surge, do you know how many of those were actual immigration arrests and not just for crimes that you papered?
I only know about what I do, which is crimes that I papered. And let me say this, that we are, look, this surge has been an incredible operation. And you're not going to like this, but I really think that Washington, D.C. Should be grateful for what has happened here. We are preventing crimes from occurring by taking guns off the street. And in the end, what we're going to have is a safer Washington and a more beautiful Washington. And that's all I have to say. But I will talk to you, I
Okay.
promise.
You will?
It's a deal.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Ms. Carey.
This is important, everybody. If you could just help us get the word out on this. Bye. Okay.
I think you get an interview.
We need to go back upstairs.